So I'm sorry if I invaded your bubble.
What the fuck? He said the key words. I looked, saw a gun. I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
Get off my bed.
For this scenario, Velocity was told to exit the taxi cab as if it was his own car in a parking lot and withdraw cash from the ATM.
Let me see here. Cash with.
Hey, are you gonna be long?
Am I wanting to withdraw?
Excuse me, sir. Are you gonna be long by any chance?
Might be a little bit long. Get on the ground. You got a gun on me. Get down. Get down. Drop your gun. Get over there. Stay where I can see you.
Okay.
Grabs my cell phone. No, I say stay where you can see you. Go to that car.
Velocity actually had a really good reaction here, and on his channel he describes, even down to the body mechanics, why he did what he did when he went to one side versus the other, and he obviously did a great job spotting that gun. And you know, sometimes we can do everything right and still have a bad ending, and the biggest lesson here is that there can always be a second attacker. There's a very famous case with a Walmart active shooter who had his girlfriend trailing behind, and an innocent defender tried to stop the killer and ended up being shot by the accomplice that he didn't know about. So this is a deadly serious issue, and it's a good lesson to come up in training. Now, I will say that because of how this played out, our attackers, who are free to choose their own course of action, set up an even more devious plan. They knew which way our defender would be coming from, and so they managed to use their numbers again to get behind him. And while he reacted admirably in both cases, we'll see that he fell prey to the same tactic of a second attacker coming up from behind or from out of your blind spot.
He said the key words. I looked, saw a gun. I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
I don't know if you could see it, but I know my arm was probably cocked behind me like a fucking idiot. So I was like,
this. It was like at your
I tried to put it like behind my
and-
leg.
Because I looked at I look at hands, so I was doing this because it's I actually in real life shoot left-handed, so this is where my gun is also in real life. So when I turned and saw you, my hand was already there.
See, and you did really good. A lot of people, you know, it's normal to have somebody behind you in line. You might have just looked over your shoulder, but no, you took your eyes off the screen and you saw that gun. That was awesome. The most important thing out of this scenario, you handled it perfectly for a one-on-one attacker, right? You got the drop on him, but you always have to consider that extra person. And in this case, it got you killed.
I started going this way, and I knew she was in the door, so then I dropped my gun, and I was trying to work you this way.
Yeah, he did that so perfectly. She had the exact. Yep.
I should have had him in my line of sight, and I should have just backed up to my car.
Yeah, exactly.
To get away, exactly.
Yeah. Don't stand there and wait for the cops. Yeah, get out of the danger zone.
I didn't do that.
So what about our killer
here? You were
here?
in the perfect spot. I didn't even.
Yeah, I mean, dark hallways, you know, corners in cities. That goes into situational awareness as well. You know, you want to be aware of possible cover, concealment. Obviously, the difference is cover will stop bullets, concealment will just hide you from them, and cars aren't good cover. Okay.
Yeah.
If we actually really have to, you want to be behind a wheel well. You want to have that motor between you, but shoot under the car. You know, do what you play dirty.
I should have backed up and should have started working back towards my vehicle because I knew this area was safe. I came from this way, and there was no one, and that's where I should have retreated to.
Yeah, you knew your car was there.
I stayed in the danger zone, like So.
Daddy, you backed yourself into a corner.
Yeah, I did.
We gave Velocity the same scenario here, and for time we cut out his walk up to the ATM, but we should be thinking about situational awareness and the everyday life distractions that pull our attention away from situational awareness.
Yeah, I guess I could do that. Fast cash withdrawal. Okay.
Is the ATM working, sir?
Fuck it. Let's do $100. Yeah, it's working. It's just
all right. I'll wait. I'm not in any rush, so I'm sorry if I invaded your bubble.
Nice. No worries. All right, grab my money. All right, cool.
Give me that now, sir.
This scenario actually brings up a bit of a nuanced point that I want to try to delve into here. Anytime you have to use deadly force in a self-defense incident, expect to have to defend those actions in a court of law. Being able to articulate the fear for your life is reasonable in that moment is the basis for self-defense. Having been through a few scenarios where use of force was required, it's easy to understand why Velocity was on edge and ready to react very quickly, when in this case saved his life, could also be a potential liability. What do I mean by that? Well, when Benny finally made the call to try to rob Velocity, he said some very non-specific words. Velocity had not turned around at that point. He was looking the other way. So the average citizen is probably not going to turn and draw and fire the way that Velocity did in this situation. However, when he did turn, Benny already had that gun pointed at him. And so you saw he did a little step to the right to get off the X and started firing. So I think in this case, he was well within his rights, but these are topics that deserve exploration because not every self-defense incident is going to be cut and dry, and the incident does not end the day of the shooting. It is very likely to be one of the most stressful events in your life just to prove that you were in the right that day. However, as they say, it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And as far as the second attacker is concerned, we see that the attackers were able to gamify the situation a bit, as Velocity had just said what he thought he should have done in the last one. This time they had the second attacker approach from where he came from. So he did admirably, but even in training, we want to try to never make the same mistake twice. And it's a good reminder that once you've dealt with one threat, you want to temporarily take your eyes off that threat when safe to do so, to look around, because we don't have eyes in the back of our heads, and that's where the danger is most likely to come from.
Okay, so what do we think? They pulled a pretty dirty trick on you, but I actually liked their idea because what we did was we assumed they saw you get out of your car, right? So they kind of knew where, what, you know, they planned that out pretty well. So let's hear what everybody has to say.
It was good. I'll have to say Ben Leasy did a good job of being like completely inconspicuous. Like he just seemed like a normal dude and he wasn't creeping behind me. And he was actually so polite. He was completely off my radar, so I just finished my transaction, and then once I put the money in my pocket, in my wallet, and I did a 180 and started walking around, that's when he actually got me, and I had to pause for a hot second, because he's like, give me all your shit now, and I was like, oh, fuck. And so the only thing I thought to do at the time, because I was here, and so I just dropped and did a 180 and just tried to get the first shot. And then I did what I thought I would normally do, and so but I guess that was my mistake, because I kept looking at you even though I neutralized the threat, and I got shot in the back again.
Yeah, you want to look around. You know, you completely leave off that threat, but if it's down for right now, then we can be looking around. We did draw off the drop again, which I'll make another point about, but for right now, if you're carrying appendix, your gun's going to be right here on your front. So if he's behind you, he's not going to see you drawing that. So that is a good instinct. You kind of knew, but, you know, you didn't know if he was holding a gun until you turned around ready to fire. Since we're in a scenario, you expected it, but he could have been talking to somebody else. He could have had a knife and been further away, but you got the drop on him, and at the end of the day, that's what mattered. Yeah, we always want to be aware of our surroundings. We always want to assume they have a friend with them.
I think that was a good job on his part.
It went really well.
But it was very well.
And even though you did use your charisma and put him off guard, it's still, like an exposed position. So his spidey sense should be kicking in. Maybe consider your route carefully when you walk away. Don't let anybody get up right behind you whenever possible. If you needed to kind of delay and like get an eye on the situation, keep your back to a wall. Restaurants, you always want to sit with your back to a wall, that kind of thing. Have eye on exits and know where the exits are. So, and that's unless you want to add anything.
All right.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Cool.
Our next scenario is an absolute nightmare and not to be taken lightly. A parent arriving to pick up their child from school finds that there's an active shooter situation in progress. Having a firearm is their best chance at stopping the killing.
Okay, as you walk in, you hear kids screaming. There's gunfire.
Oh my God.
Die! Die!
Where's my daughter?
Yeah! That's what you get! Damn, I'm out of ammo! Yeah! That's what I thought! Come get some— oh shit.
You died. Oh shit.
Kids are screaming everywhere. Ah, it's chaos! There's people bleeding out on the ground. Holy crap!
I'm out of fucking ammo.
Okay, you're out of ammo. What are you gonna do?
Help! Help! I'm bleeding! Help! Oh shit.
Benny is walking into a very difficult situation tactically here. He's got one enemy to the right who has good cover and another to the left, drawing his attention. He did a good job of putting shots towards the attacker that he initially saw and staying alive long enough to take out that attacker as he ran across. Now, we'll see him shoot a couple more shots, and he had a decent capacity on his handgun here. What I really would have liked to see was for him to push the aggression and go straight towards the attacker here. Instead, we see him go directly across, and of course it's good. He gets to cover. Maybe just bad luck, he wasn't able to make those shots connect. That's a pretty good distance for a pistol with no optic. And of course he announces that he's out of ammo, which, let's never do that in real life unless it's as a distraction. And let's remember how important a reload can be. Most civilians almost never use an extra pistol reload, but if you have the capacity, then there's no reason not to have it as far as I'm concerned. That being said, well-placed shots and the aggression can get the job done. I think in these situations where there's children's lives being at risk, you have to pull out all the stops. And as I mentioned to Benny, there's really no giving up allowed in these situations. If you're hit, you keep fighting, and you never know whether you're buying enough time for another kid's life to be saved or for responders to arrive. But yeah, the big takeaway here is that fighting spirit and to never give up on the fight.